Singapore's government is stepping up support for young families in 2025, even as family building takes a backseat for many. In an interview with CNA, Minister Indranee Rajah, who oversees the National Population and Talent Division, shared her optimism about the new shared parental leave scheme launching on the 1st of April. She kicked things off by telling Dawn Tan why she believes it could be a real turning point for working parents.
Having enough resources is part of the issue here. We seem to have more access to this compared to a lot of countries. For this issue, money's not just going to be the only thing to solve this, is it?
It is about the money to some extent because, the cost of raising a child weighs on parents' mind, but I think it goes way beyond that. We've done quite a bit to enhance the support when the mother's having the child, as well as the health care for the baby as well. But it also goes even before the baby is born, because we've been taking measures to make sure that there's greater accessibility to housing, because Singaporeans are very pragmatic. They want a home of their own even before they have the child. What we hope will be a game changer is the new shared parental leave that was announced by Prime Minister Lawrence Wong at the National Day rally last year. That will be 10 weeks of shared parental leave, by default shared equally between mum and dad, but obviously they can adjust it.
Is the government looking at specific measures that are going to further support parents? I mean, what can parents expect for 2025?
Increased support for infant care, because the feedback we were getting from parents is that it's actually the first 18 months, because that's when the child is most dependent on the parents. But there is a period where you still need somebody to look after the very young child as you go back to work. If you have parents and grandparents who are willing to help out, that's great, but some don't. So infant care, MSF is looking into piloting a new model of infant care. There's infant care centers, so that's center-based, but the model that they're looking at is either somebody comes to your home or you drop off your child to the home of somebody else, so infant carers. And then the other thing that we're looking at, which PM touched on as well, is how can we increase support for large families, because we do recognize that if you have more than 2 children, obviously your costs increase with every child.
How do you track the effectiveness of policies that are supportive of the family and have to literally go through the lifetime of a young individual?
From the time that the child is conceived, you've got subsidies for the health care. From the time that the child is born, you've got the baby bonus cash gift, which is really about 11,000 per child, up to the first 6 years, right? Then you've got the child development account with the first step grant, and then the co-matching amounts, and that takes you through the preschool period. Then once you enter primary school, education heavily subsidized all the way up. So I think parents should come away knowing that the government's investing very heavily in the child's education, and giving a lot of support for that. So when you look at all of this in the whole, it's a whole ecosystem. What we're really building is a society that's supportive of families and puts families front and center.
Well, let's talk a bit about balancing economic success with fertility rate concerns in Singapore. Is there a trade-off between that and then sort of pulling back a bit and saying, okay, I really want to spend more time being a parent, right? Essentially saying, I don't have to have it all. I can take a step back.
Well, you're right that there's a trade-off, but what we're doing with the recent measures is trying to make sure that the trade-off is not win-lose, making sure that we have shared parental leave and dividing it between the mother and the father, because this is a signal to employers that, hey, the families or the parents need some time to be with their children, so give them that time. You can't be working all of the time and expecting to be with your child all the time. So you're going to have to give up a little bit of time at work, spend that with your child, but you can come back because your shared parental leave can be taken in portions, and after that spend time back with your career.
But Minister, some people in the workplace, they don't feel empowered to necessarily speak up and say what they need, and that includes young married women and men who might not be able to articulate fully what their needs may be. I mean, what needs to happen there?
Well, it's a very fair point that you've raised, and I have a message for employers, which I have been saying repeatedly, which is that if you want to recruit and retain good people, you must enable them to also have a fulfilling family life in addition to a good career. And the key to this is really good HR. Really good HR that understands the needs of both. Because if you have a purely transactional relationship, which is that you work for me and I command your hours for X number of hours in the day, and you must devote your whole life to the company, at some point people are going to say, I can't do that. I have a family and I have needs of my own, and they will walk.
That support has to be demonstrable. It has to encompass the 360 view of an individual. Talk to me about a phrase that we're hearing a lot now with Forward Singapore especially, redefining what success means, right? The pursuit of not just a good life, but a life that is good enough. Is that where we still need to go? Is that where we want to go as a society?
So the question is, how do you balance it so that you earn enough to provide for yourself and for your family in due course, but at the same time still have enough bandwidth for yourself as an individual, where you don't feel so wrung out and hung out to dry, enough time to breathe, enough time to step back and look at the direction your life is going. And at the same time also being careful not to pressure your children so much. You want their journey in school and in life to be a happy one, not one that is fraught with stress and where waking up to go to school is much more like a chore than a joy. You do have to ask, how can I achieve these things? And also to remember, it's not one size fits all. There's some individuals who thrive on stress and there's some who just don't. And you need to know for yourself which kind of individual I am, what works for me. And because obviously it takes place in a work context as well, you need employers who are understanding, open-minded, progressive, and also very pragmatic.
It's a mindset shift that's required. We use that phrase a lot. It sounds like it's going to take a generation to achieve that.
It's going to take some time, but it may not take as long as we think. We need to keep talking about it, thinking about it, and of course with these policy moves, nudging people and their employers in the right direction.